Welcome to our April HubSpot User Group. Welcome. I hope everyone's had a good start to the year. Today I'm here with Harry Spicer-Short, one of the strategists here in Neighbourhood, and today we're talking about all things migrations. And we just got news recently, a few months ago, that HubSpot has opened a data centre in Sydney, Australia. It's been a long time coming, in my view. It opens up a lot of possibilities for a lot of customers. I think from a compliance and privacy standpoint, so it's a really great opportunity for people that might have been on the fence that didn't necessarily have an option to go to HubSpot to now have that option. So we're grateful for a lot of our customers and past prospects to have these conversations again. Today, Harry and myself, we're really going to be stepping through, I guess, the process of migrating for all existing customers, that is, migrating your account over to the Australian data centre. There's a few things to be mindful of. A few of our customers have gone through the process already of migrating it through to Australia. And I think that there's a few things that we've learned and a few things that we're kind of going to discuss today, just to be mindful of a good fit and a bad fit for moving it across. There are a lot of things to take into consideration specifically for really well-established customers in the HubSpot ecosystem, more so mid-market and enterprise size, is that there's probably going to be a few things that you need to factor in before you actually schedule that migration across. I will say that the migration process is really seamless. They've really systemized it since the first US to EU migration, which wholeheartedly I believe was manual, which would have been wild. But this is a really seamless automated process with minimal downtime. By minimal, I say 36 hours, but I think, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But today, I think, Harry, what we'll do is we'll talk about most importantly, the things to be very mindful of before actually moving that migration across, and potentially even sharing our screen to sort of step through, I think, what that process looks like. It'll lend for a lot of conversation. So if you are watching this live, please make sure you're asking some questions in the chat, because we can answer them in real time. But if you are watching this as a recording, the comment section is below. And make sure you leave any of the questions that you might have. And we usually get back to you, I think, roughly within 24 hours. So a great opportunity. I will say, if you're not a HubSpot customer, let's just get that off, you can select your data center before you get kicked off. So you don't have to worry about any of this. If you are a HubSpot customer at the moment, if you're kind of like recently moved to HubSpot and sort of starting to grow the business with that, I think it'll be pretty seamless for you, in my opinion. If you're a well-established larger organization, I think this is perfect for you, because I think there's a few factors that you kind of need to take into consideration. Before we get started, I wanted to mention our HubSpot User Group for next month, which is on the 15th of May. We've started to do a whole lot of HubSpot hacks in our email newsletter and on our website, and it's been getting a lot of attention. So we thought we're going to talk about the top 12 HubSpot hacks that I think you guys should be aware of. I'm going to be joined by Bree. And we're going to step through 12 of the ones that I think you should be mindful of. It's free to join. There's a link in the chat or in the comments below or in the description. It's somewhere. It's free to sign up. If you can't make it, we'll send you the recording. But it's going to be a really good one, I think, because through our years and years of using HubSpot, there are a few little things that we like to do that we do for our clients. So we want to share these with you. All good?
Yeah, it's a good one. There's a lot of little things, and as HubSpot grows, we come up with new stuff every single month, and so probably should do one of these yearly, really.
Yeah.
Compile them.
There's a lot of good workarounds.
Yeah.
Product team, please do not watch this one. All right, to get things set up, as I mentioned, I'm joined here with Harry. Harry's been an avid user for HubSpot for a number of years now, which is really good, and he helps a lot of our customers go through and implement HubSpot, optimize HubSpot. Some of his customers have moved over as well, so I thought I'd get Harry to come along and, I guess, chat around this topic specifically. To get things kicked off, I think the one thing that you and I probably just reverted to straight away, and it's probably a good starting point, is the flags in which this is a bad fit. And I know we're probably jumping script here a little bit, but the limitations and considerations, I think, is one thing that I think we weren't over, we thought, everybody can move across. And I think once we started diving into the detail a little bit more, there are a number of things to be sort of mindful of and limitations in which you have to be mindful of. And I think it'd be pretty good to start with that, because I think the migration process is really simplistic. Yep. It's like if you've got your ducks in a row, boom, 36 hours, and then you're ready to rock and roll. But let's chat into the I guess the limitations and the considerations before actually considering the migration, because I think there's a couple. And by I mean a couple, there's a few. So
yeah, I think it comes down to who can actually migrate. And you were mentioning it earlier, there's probably some accounts that are set up and utilize certain HubSpot features, and they just cannot currently be migrated. I think the key one that we've come across is payments. If you're using HubSpot Payments, you can't do this migration yet. So HubSpot Payments is a tool and the data is hosted in the USA. And if you are using HubSpot Payments, it's just not possible. They're not able to move that data over just yet. So I think to that point, I think you can move it over, but you have to sever the relationship with payments in HubSpot. I think you've actually got to go ahead. You've got to switch to Stripe.
Yeah, and I think you've got to email HubSpot to go and manually sort of disconnect the payments from your portal. Bit annoying. Be great if you could push a button, but so you've got to actually go ahead and email HubSpot, and you'll have to sever that relationship with HubSpot Payments. So if you've gone ahead and created, any sort of commerce workflows and payments and anything like subscriptions or anything like that, you need to weigh up whether the juice is worth the squeeze in this scenario.
Yeah, and there's potentially changes in payment plans, percentages, and all those other things.
Yeah.
But you'd have to sever that, move to Stripe, and then that could be possible going past that point. So I think that's the one we came across first of all. They obviously started Commerce Hub a little while ago, and people really jumped into that. So that's something to consider if you have jumped in there, then you have to maybe a little small tweak to how you do that. Yeah.
I think the other point that we kind of wanted to sort of talk about was like where you can move from. So historically speaking, all of the data centers specifically are on the East Coast. So East Coast, there's 4 data centers now. You've got one in the EU, one West Coast, one East Coast, and one in Australia.
Yep.
Thank you for thinking of us, HubSpot. You can only move from one. So did you want to talk around, I guess, what is possible only?
Yeah, for sure. You're only East Coast data center currently. So you can always go into your HubSpot portal and you can go and check where your data is currently stored. So if you do have any questions on that, pretty simple to find. You're going to navigate to your settings area. You're going to go to account defaults, and then along the top, click data hosting. From here, you're going to see your data center. For example, the one on screen here, we're hosted in United States East. So this migration would be possible. But if you're any other data center, you can't currently come across to Australia. Yeah. So if your data center's in the EU or the US West, you can't move over. There you go. That's a little. It's good to know that. Yeah, I think for the ones that are potentially on the West Coast or EU, you have to chat to HubSpot and work a way around it, see if you can get it done to the East Coast first, and then migrate it. But small part to consider. I assume that there will be a future state in which it will all be possible. But like I said, the default data centers in the East. So yeah. And I think majority of accounts that we've come across are in there. I think there'll be a few in the EU with GDPR bits. 100%. Yeah. The next part, and this is like a fairly big limitation, I think, specifically around the recent launch of sensitive data. Yep. And HIPAA data as well. Those two specific, did you want to, just to recap for those that aren't privy, the sensitive data and the health conscious HIPAA data, to sort of talk around what that is, and then I guess the limitations around that as well. Yeah, for sure. So HubSpot brought out a way where for certain custom properties you create, you can have an option to select whether they contain sensitive data. And this was important because over time, HubSpot's evolved to all sorts of industries. So we personally deal with a few of our customers who host medical data. And it is important that that remains sensitive. It is an enterprise feature only. And there's basically a little checkbox. Whenever you're creating a property, you can say, hey, this contains sensitive data. And there's a few levels to that. So if you have basically that turned on and in use, so it's kind of related to HIPAA, but even if you just wanted sensitive data, currently you would not be able to migrate either.
Yeah, okay.
And so it does come up, and it's basically because I think that data is stored in a secure and sensitive way already. There's currently not an option for you to move across to Australia with that.
Got you. Hopefully there's a future state as well.
Yep.
Also sandboxes. That's probably another good one. Some accounts, enterprise specifically, come with a sandbox, that sandbox environment too. I think we looked into it. I think that sandboxes will stay where they are and you can't migrate them across. Yeah,
correct. So again, depending on the extent that you're using the sandbox and what it's for, hopefully not too much data in there. But yeah, sandboxes won't migrate in any kind of way. So it does say you'll lose any sandbox work post-migration, and you'll need to create a new sandbox afterwards as well.
Gotcha.
So good thing to note there. Again, we're assuming that a lot of the things we're saying right now, it's very early doors. This has only been out for a couple months, so we're assuming these things will be covered at a certain point. And the initial runs were just doing simple East Coast to Australia, but for everybody. But there's no hidden, this isn't hidden away. When you do go to the data center and click change, they do come up on the right-hand side, and it does say to you, hey, you can't migrate because of this, this, and this. And so it gives you an action list if you wanted to.
Yeah, nice. So I think that for me is the big sort of flags to sort of be mindful of. I think that if you meet any of that criteria that we sort of spoke about, I think there's, I don't think the migration specifically would be good for you right now. I do have hope in the short-term future that that will sort of obviously update and be rectified. One part I kind of wanted to talk about is we talked about the parts that sort of to be mindful of the limitations. Did you kind of want to talk around, I guess, the migration durations, the scheduling, the cancellations, and all of that sort of stuff? Like, how long does it take? I think I mentioned 36 hours maximum before, but talk around, I guess, durations and can you schedule it? Can you cancel it? All that sort of jazz.
Yeah, for sure. You got to schedule it out. It's not kind of a, hey, I want to do this tomorrow. So I think with the last time one of our customers went to schedule it, they had to wait about 3 weeks for the next slot. And then once you have selected it, it does come up in your portal. So every time you log in, it gives you that little reminder at the top. A little banner pops up and says, hey, your account won't be available on this day for up to 36 hours, based on the data migration. One thing to note in there, you can schedule, it has to be at least a week. So if you were thinking about this, minimum is 7 days, but I did find with a couple of other customers, it had to be longer. So people had booked out already. And so then when they went to schedule it, they actually weren't available for 3 weeks to choose. There's obviously a certain amount that they do per week. So although it's a 1 week minimum, it could be more than that when you go to do it. And that the last point to cancel it, 36 hours before. Very important. I think if you plan this in the right way, everybody is aware of it. I would say 7 days is a bit short. You might want to, 30 days, give everybody, hey, this time, this day, everybody out, we're done for the weekend. And yeah, I think there's got to be some planning into this, see what teams are working, who's doing what, and just remembering that, for those 36 hours, no access.
Yeah. I think that includes the weekend too. So I think that if you are looking at sort of like going ahead and moving through that, it'll depend on the organization specifically, but I kind of feel like over the weekend kind of makes a bit of sense. I haven't heard any stories about any issues with this migration as well. So like if you are thinking about sort of going through and doing this migration, Friday afternoon kind of kicking off or Friday late afternoon means that, if there is some sort of view on it, checking in on Sunday, Arvo, double checking it all. It's shorter than 48 hours, so it's not 2 full days, which is really good. But if you're looking to sort of ensure that everything is as it should be, I will talk, I guess the migration kind of comes over, but it does come with a bit of homework, specifically if you are a well-established business within the HubSpot ecosystem. Sure, the migration takes 36 hours, But I think one of the things that we kind of like, I think we kind of spoke about specifically was we've had a lot of clients with a lot of forms. And I'm trying to look for the point here, but
it's about the HubSpot script.
Yeah, so essentially, like some people will host the forms on a standalone web page. If you're on a CMS, then this probably isn't your topic. But we do have a number of clients that embed their forms in third-party places. So it might be on a WordPress site, it might be on a Squarespace, it might actually even be on someone else's website. What should these guys be mindful of? Because this is kind of a big one, and I will say, we did have an account with like 288 forms in it. And this is kind of where this kind of flags up pretty hardcore. Did you want to talk about the forms specifically? Or I guess more so the things to be mindful of and lead with forms?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pre-work, during things you have to consider, and then post-work. I think the pre-bits to cover mainly come around that your account is not accessible during that period. There's no option to log in, there's nothing like that. However, you're not gonna lose any data. So your ads will still be running, your forms are still active, and your web pages are still available. What it all comes down to is kind of those submissions. Submissions and workflows are all paused. And so during that period, if you submit a form, it's gonna wait until your migration is finished to push those details in. So any automation that comes off the back of a form, say for example, a thank you email, that's gonna be delayed until the migration finishes. So if somebody did submit your form Saturday morning and it was 36 hours, then that email wouldn't be sent until that end period. So a lot of things do just get paused. A lot of it is available, and it's very obvious as well. This isn't hidden. There's a full knowledge base on it. And so you kind of go into HubSpot, the knowledge base, and it does say to you in there, it does say, hey, this is the things to consider prior and then afterwards. So important there. I think the key things is just to remember that I think chatbots, not available at all. So they actually fully go offline and will come back on afterwards. That's important. Some people really rely on that live chat. So during that period of time, if you rely on live chat, you may see some influx of form submissions or email inquiries instead. So good thing to consider. The rest of it, I would like to say, a lot of it is just saying it all gets paused and then kind of resumes afterwards. So workflows paused, form submissions, they happen, they're stored, but they get processed afterwards. No marketing. Can't schedule any marketing emails on those days either. So yeah, if you do want to do any marketing on that weekend, it wouldn't be possible. I think those are the kind of the key ones that, don't really happen in that period. One-to-one emails through a sequence, again, will be paused. Any kind of action. I think what I'm saying
there's a long list of things.
It is a long list.
I've got 3 pages of things, yes.
Yeah, I think the one thing will just reiterate again, forms are good. People worry about their forms, especially if they're everywhere. You're not going to lose 36 hours of submissions. They just get processed at the end. Everything just kind of is paused during the migration. But as you say, certain things like chatbot, they are fully unavailable.
Yeah. There's one thing, so back to the forms part as well. So as you might or might not be aware, obviously when we embed it, it's obviously going through and we're using an embed code which goes through, submits to HubSpot and then pushes back into your account. You're gonna have to change if you are embedding them onto third-party platforms, and I think this does come up during the migration process, is that those that code specifically for that embed will change because obviously it's submitting it specifically to a new data center to push into your account as well. So just be mindful of any form submission like embeds that you've got too, because they'll provide you new code to be able to push through. So something to be mindful of is if you are using them like a lot within your ecosystem, or even if you've got 1 or 2, you need to make sure that you change those out, because if you don't, it's actually going to be pushing to the data center in the US and back into your account as well. So just be mindful of that. You'll also need to change the JavaScript tracking code on the website too. The JavaScript, you'll be provided with a new JavaScript tracking code. Again, some people have HubSpot CMS. Again, there's nothing you need to do there, but if you are on a third-party website, tracking specific on landing pages or a third-party website at all as well, you'll need to update the JavaScript on that too, just to make sure that it's pointing in that same direction.
Yeah, all HubSpot scripts. So I think the key one, your tracking code. And this is when you mentioned before about who's right to do this migration and who's not. If you've embedded 250 plus forms onto different web pages, that's 250 scripts that will need to be completely redone. Yeah. And with a recent one, like I was curious the first time and can confirm they are different 100%. Those tracking codes and form embed codes are different. And the HubSpot knowledge base really is clear on it. That data, if you stay with the old embed code, it does go to the old data center. It's linked there. So until you have changed all of them, you are not 100% migrated. So yeah, it's really important.
I'll run through these because I think it's important to maybe flash these on the screen because, and we might just do a couple each just because it's probably worth talking about it. Just so, because there's going to be different concerns for different organizations. And I think that it's probably important to sort of talk about these, whether they will be changed, like one, whether they'll be available over the migration break or are they going to be changed specifically. And I think the one big part here is that the object IDs or any of the IDs specifically to the account, the deal IDs, the contact IDs, all of this sort of stuff, it's really important to note that they will remain the same. So if you have got specific private apps, APIs, anything like that you've set up as well, that go through and utilize the ID specific, it might even be associations in the associations workflows. Yep. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to worry about that. So I think that's one big one. Did you want to talk about the ads?
Yeah, for sure. We'll start with the A's.
We'll go the ad. We'll go because obviously there's a list here, and I think it's just important to shoot them out of a cannon, just so that people are aware.
Maybe we'll flash up on the screen.
Yep, we'll do that. So
a little bit of extra work.
That was account and object IDs. The next one's the ads.
Cool. We'll do one each.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So scheduled ads will go live as planned. Incoming ad data will be processed post-migration.
Awesome. Again, just sort of figure out if you are an ads-heavy business, probably just trying to work out where that lull is as well within the organization. A good one, API calls as well. So they'll fail during the migration. So you'll get a 477 status code to basically say they're going to fail. So the post-migration retries depend on the integration as well. So if you have got a private app, if you've got APIs running specifically as well, what you want to try and do is go through and just look at the log. If you are doing it, you can just retry those as well. It's going to depend on different sort of situations. So in that one, it will receive a 477, but just go through, have a look, talk to a developer. You can have a chat to us or HubSpot specifically, and then sort of just try and rectify that sort of specific. That's a big one. I think that's a really big one for those that are pretty heavy on an API.
If you'd lose 36 hours of API calls.
Correct.
That would be depending on your business, that could be huge. And so, potentially looking to put those somewhere else for those 36 hours and retry them, pause, and you have to figure that out.
You won't need to change anything else just during the period of the migration. Yep.
Correct. Authentication. So authentication automatically refreshes post-migration.
Nice. Calling. Now this one's going to be specifically for those that are using calling inside HubSpot. Outbound calls initiated from HubSpot drop at the start of migration. I think that's just what everyone expected.
Yep.
And inbound calls won't work as well during the migration. The call data migrates fully across, but as we've kind of said, I think 37 times already, that during that period, if you are using inbound calls or you can't, it's not unavailable. So again, picking a time that I feel like weekends, if it's not a weekend company, that it could be beneficial for you to do it then.
I think every migration I've done has been Saturday midnight. Start, kick off.
Yeah.
HubSpot know this. They're not dumb. They've not done a Friday 9 a.m. It's Saturday midnight, and you get some good slots in there.
Yeah.
I mentioned this one already, but just to confirm, chat bots and live bots unavailable 1 hour before, and then the migration starts, and then they will resume post.
Nice.
So they won't even appear.
Customer portal. So weirdly enough, customers can still log into the customer portal for those that are using customer portal for tickets. But we can't anyone inside the HubSpot system can't respond or send messages during the migration. So I think that's a bit of a given.
CRM imports are completely unavailable 24 hours before the migration. So although you obviously don't have access to HubSpot during the migration, you can't actually do an import 24 hours before.
They need to sort of do some pre-work to figure out what to move across.
Yeah.
Custom and third-party integrations as well. So they'll all pause during the migration as well. The API call retries, kind of what we said before, will just depend on that integration as well. So my thought process would be to just, in your post-migration checklist, is to go through, look at all the third-party integrations that have been connected or any custom ones, and just look at those as well to see if it's failing in any way, shape, or form. There'll be a pretty thorough post-migration review of the account, specifically for customized accounts. So that's one to be mindful of as well.
CTAs, they remain active during the migration period. However, no analytics are available for the migration period.
Cool. Data sync, obviously, if the data sync is there, it's going to be paused, but it resumes afterwards. So I think that just, I think everyone saw that coming.
Interesting one here, documents. Documents completely unavailable during the migration. So if you've previously sent a link to a document to anybody, that will fail. Won't be able to open that during the period. Cool.
Domains, system domains will migrate automatically. Reverse proxy domains require DNS updates post-migration. I think that's a given as well. Again, for those that are using reverse proxy domains, make sure that you go through to the necessary content area in the settings and just review the DNS updates. It should throw up an error as a red sort of flag there. Just go in there and it should have the new values that you can update as well.
Yeah, all HubSpot script related. Marketing emails. We said this briefly before, but basically you can't schedule anything for the migration period. So if you have scheduled them prior, you will have to reschedule them. So if they're already in the system and you go, hey, do this on Saturday and there's already emails, your first step will be to go to cancel and reschedule those, and then you can't schedule any further ones on those days.
Yeah, that makes sense. Facebook Messenger. So you can obviously respond on Messenger, but obviously not within HubSpot. So, I mean, it doesn't close down Messenger altogether. There's no real disruption in regards to that. So you can still obviously log into the platform itself and manage it there. But there's no disruption with that side of things, but obviously restore once it comes back on.
Sure. We touched on this already, surveys and forms, but important to note, so for your feedback surveys and your forms, submissions will be collected, but will be processed when the migration is complete. Mm-hmm. So beware, some people may not get a certain thank you email or message or note or anything for up to 36 hours.
Cool. HubSpot built integrations, and we're talking Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Snowflake, any of that stuff that's kind of been built by HubSpot. It's going to vary depending on your HubSpot account. Some considerations apply, specifically if the integration is connected to multiple HubSpot accounts as well. So in this instance, if you've got this as well, my recommendation would be to reach out to your CSM, just to obviously flag it with them as well. They can talk to the product team specifically in the back end and navigate and give you recommendations. The Snowflake integration specifically requires reinstallation after the migration is done as well. So that's just something to be mindful of.
Knowledge base, not the HubSpot knowledge base, like your own knowledge base. If you do use it, it will be available. So if someone has a link to it, they will be able to access it. But if you're using a kind of chatbot knowledge search, that chatbot's offline. So then they wouldn't be able to get there. But just if they've got a direct link.
Nice. So the landing pages and website pages, I think this is one that I've probably got more concerned about because I'm like, oh, my whole business is just not going to be like I'm on the CMS myself. So the good thing about it is that it will be available the whole time. So the website and landing pages are available. So if you're running Google Ads or you're running any paid media, then you'll still be accessible. The form submissions will still go through. The analytics will be delayed, obviously. You will still get them, but they'll be delayed. You can't edit anything during the migration, but obviously post, it's just business as usual.
Correct. Another one here that's going to be offline, meeting links. So if you do have a meeting link and somebody's got access to it and goes to try, they will not be able to book you during this period.
That's important.
Yeah, it is. Especially as that's such a useful tool that a lot of people use. So yeah, 36 hours, you will not get any meetings booked. You may get people that try and email you as well and say, hey, I'm trying to do this and can't do it. So a little bit of manual follow-up might be needed there.
Some people have got that embedded on their website too, so that won't work.
Some people.
Notifications, the sidebar notifications won't migrate. I don't know if anyone lives and dies by that, to be completely honest with you. I'm not losing sleep over that.
There's also a very funny asterisk around one of the post-migration changes, and that is all around your notification sounds will reset to default.
Yes.
And your browser notifications turned off. Those are the two. They go along with those notifications. So not only will they not migrate, if you've changed that sound and you've changed your browser notifications, they're both also changed in the migration. They don't go back. So yeah, for anybody out there who has turned the notification sound on or off, or browser notifications, they're going to be undone. It's the only kind of weird quirk that I can see in it all that is just changed and not changing back.
Gotcha. Public and private apps, no change. Everything will be the same. So there's nothing to worry about there.
Easy. Sales emails, so one-to-one emails, they'll be delayed if part of the sequence. So yeah, until the migration completes. So if you do have a sequence which is sending an email in 1 day's time, that won't happen until.
Yeah. Social tools, schedule posts will delayed until it's post-migration as well. So manual posting is recommended if it's super urgent, but if anything is scheduled within that migration time, it'll just get pushed until the migration's been completed.
It's important, check your calendar, check your social schedule calendar. A lot of people do add some bits on weekends.
Yeah.
It's kind of a good time, people aren't working, got time to see them. So yeah, might just have to do those direct in the app for the weekend.
Nice. The ticket creation via form, chatbot, and I think you spoke about this as well. Yep. Any of that stuff that happens will be delayed until the migration completes. Yeah,
it's all part of that kind of workflow pause. Yeah. Anything that automation or action that happens upon any submission, it's going to be paused. And that I'll actually talk about workflows anyway, just because we're here.
Yep.
All workflows are just paused. We touched on that, but no actions, triggers, anything. But they will all kick immediately as soon as your migration is complete.
I think it's important to note specifically for webhooks there as well, is that they'll pause during that, but you'll just obviously everyone's account is a little bit different, so you just need, my little checkbox would be to review each of those webhooks in that sort of workflow as you go through too.
Cool. I think that's everything along there.
Yeah.
I think the main thing is just that we've gone through quite a few there. Some of the tools you'll be using, some of them you won't be using. Everybody's account is a bit unique. So yeah, just plan this ahead. I think this should be a 30 to 60 day out plan rather than a 1 week out plan.
I guess, like I said, the migration kind of kicks on. There's nothing that you need to do. Like we'll obviously put a link to the knowledge base in there as well, but realistically, when that kind of kicks over, I think the one thing I probably want to talk about a little bit more is the migration after it's been completed. And maybe just some things to be mindful of that we can kind of put on the screen too. Because realistically, if you sort of take all of this into consideration, that's the only things you need to be mindful of. And I think that the migration you don't need to one thing I will say, you don't need to back up your data.
Yeah, HubSpot actually does it.
Yeah, you don't need to back that up. They say if you are worried about it, back it up, but I think they've got a couple of copies. We'll be fine for that. But
it really does say that as well. Like I do like to get that point across because we've done it for a couple of customers, and there's always the what if. What if it fails? What if this happened? And it does say they take an exact backup of your portal prior to migration. So, and there haven't been any, but if there was an issue, they would just revert back to your previous
I just don't think HubSpot want that on their conscious and publicly to know that. So I think they've done everything that they need to make sure that there's no data loss whatsoever. Post-migration, there's a few things to sort of be mindful of. Did you want to talk about a few of those things afterwards?
I think just check your account. I think the bits that we've said, log in, make sure. And again, we've done a few of these. Nothing's come up, but it's always worth checking. So go in, check everything looks the same, check if everything is where it's supposed to be. Make sure your workflows are back on and functioning. You can go and check the enrollment history. Make sure if you use a chatbot, that it's appearing back on your website. Those things that we've mentioned today, maybe do a test form submission. Just make sure that that's all coming through. And I think, basically, like you say, DNS records, HubSpot scripts, the way I did it with previous customers that have gone through this is we had a Word doc or Google doc prior, and it had every script that needed to be replaced. So we wrote them down on a big list, and that means post you can go through and
check them off. Yeah.
Especially if you, like we say, we've seen an account recently with 250 forms in use. That's a big task, really big task.
Yeah.
If you miss one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got to be done correctly.
If there is any concern, I will say reach out to us or your CSM. It's all pretty much there. They've really tried to make it as low impact as possible. I think for those larger organizations, I think what we want to sort of try and do is just do your due diligence. One, be mindful of, I guess, the pre-work that you need to do. Again, if you're using Snowflake, if you've got embed forms as well, even specific downtimes as well. Look at Easter breaks, look at sort of holiday in the US, different holiday breaks as well, or potentially later in the year across that sort of like sort of Christmas break too. That could be, if it is going to impact the business quite substantially, really picking the date specifically, and it could be better to do it later on in the year when the business kind of slows down a little bit quite considerably, if it is going to impact quite, like having meeting links and not available as well. Like I know some organizations that is just the lifeblood of their business, and having that turned off for like a day or two means a lot of money for them, and also a substantial kick in the shins for the sales team.
Yeah, if you, like you say, if you marketing emails aren't going out, at social posts through scheduling, and you lose these kind of things. Like you say, meeting links are more important than people think. Some people use that as like the main qualification.
Yeah.
You book a meeting with me, you qualified. We're going through this, and so yeah, I think it's important. I think one note in there, we did say form embeds. We said tracking code. Do want to make sure CTAs as well. Yeah, was brought up briefly, but those are the key three where those codes will be completely different if you're embedding them externally. And I'll give you one random one more. The BCC and your forwarding email addresses will be different. So
gotcha. Well, it should dynamically update, right? In like the BCC with the sales add-on. So refreshing that in Chrome or whatever you're using. For
sure. It's more if you've got it in a third party. Yeah. So if you're sending emails from a third party and have the BCC line in, so it comes into HubSpot, that BCC address and forwarding address will now be different. So you'll be able to view it in HubSpot, but I've had a few people that use external software to send their emails and they put the BCC in to get it to come to HubSpot. That would need to be updated.
So I think that kind of wraps it up. It's a fairly simplistic topic. I think we've really covered, some of the things to be mindful of for those organizations that might have a lot of forms, that might be using third-party integrations, just to be mindful of doing some pre-work. Obviously, it's pretty easy going when the migration is going down, then obviously a bit of a deeper review of the account post as well, more so around those webhooks, potentially reverse proxies and updating that sort of stuff. But as you go through, hopefully everything in this HubSpot User Group episode has probably given you more insight in regards to maybe you do have a simplistic version of this, so it's not going to be too much of a big deal. You're not using payments, it's going to be fairly easy to sort of do it. But for those complex ones, this one might be a bit more of an extra pre-work and also post-work as well.
Yeah, important. Reach out to us as well. Like if you've got any concerns, or if you've got a huge after work. If you've got a huge, like we mentioned, 250 forms to update, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done efficiently. So potentially reach out to us, ourselves, other HubSpot partners, and bits like that, and we can go from there. I think it's, if you do need a hand,
put the responsibility on someone else.
Yeah, and one other thing, just the benefits of doing this while we do wrap up. I think the reason that this is becoming important, and we wanted to cover it today, is there's just a lot of compliance around where data is stored. So for some of our clients that we work with, the reason they wanted to do it is because government contracts and other things within Australia, you have to have your data stored in Australia itself. That's a huge point. Government contracts, if you're a company that's willing, wanting to go for those, you don't want that last hurdle to be, hey, where's your data stored? And it's in the USA. So we think this is great. It's a very secure data center in Sydney itself as well.
I think they use the AWS infrastructure. So,
for sure, yeah. It's an AWS server based in Sydney, and so we just wanted to say that
you can find it on Google Maps. We found it yesterday.
We did. Look, it looks secure. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can find a way in.
No.
So yeah, I think the whole reason that we did an episode around this is because there are big benefits to this to a business. You bring in your data home, we're having it where we know where it is, and also for any kind of future contracts that you might have, it's that peace of mind.
Yeah, awesome. Cool, thanks Harry, thanks for catching up. If you've got any questions around the migration specifically, feel free to reach out to us. Also your CSM if you want to contact HubSpots directly. But my thought process on the screen now, if you just go up to the cog, move across to account defaults, go to the data hosting, this is kind of where the first step takes off. You just click on that little change next to the data hosting location and the prompt should really start to kick out there as well. Again, if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us at we@nbh.co or reach out to HubSpot directly and they can help you out. Little plug for the next hug. We did mention at the start, we're going to talk about our top 12 actually, HubSpot hacks. It's going to be on the 15th of May at 10 a.m. So the link is in the description, it's on the screen, it's in the chat, it's anywhere, it's in the email that you got this as well. Sign up. If you can't make it, we will send you through the recording, but this one will be a good one because I think there is a lot of things that we've learned in our 10 years and I kind of, being able to share this with you just to be able to do things a little bit more effectively and maybe go around certain things that you might not have access to is probably a good opportunity for you to go in and sort of enhance your workspace a little bit more. So, but thanks Harry for joining us today.
No problem.
Again, any questions, feel free to reach out. But happy migrating everybody and hope you all have a really good Easter break.
Yeah, happy HubSpot.
All right, cheers guys, bye.